attending. We already have quite a few speakers. And if you notice, we have Nifty and Taskmaster as co-hosts. And this is because we recently, around 12 hours ago, we just launched a new witness called at town/hall. And this town hall witness is meant to encourage discussion, to provide guidance, and to uh, pretty much show newbies how Hive works and how they can get involved on everything related to Hive, not only in creating content, but also in getting involved in governance, doing outreach on Web 2, how they can help Hive grow, etc., etc. There's a lot we can talk about. This is just the first town hall of many to come. Hopefully, with your attendance and your support, we can keep doing them. The point is not to centralize the conversations through spaces, but to open up a space to give more people the chance to speak, to listen to other people's opinion. A few years ago, we used to have a town hall, but over the past 2 years, there hasn't been a space like this one. So, Taskmaster John J. Olson, lead master, who is Nifty Field here, and myself decided, hey, why don't we open up a space like this one for all of the Hive community to join, gather, exchange takes, and pretty much just be in the know about what's happening on Hive. So, Taskmaster, do you want to say a few words before we start with the space? Or if you're not around, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Just want to add to it. The genesis of this idea stems from the fact that Hive is now at the point where it's traveling down many different routes. It's going in many different directions. There's a lot of different things being done at every level. And it requires a variety of backgrounds and experiences come together. So not only do we have the technical side of things, which is important both at the base layer and the secondary layer, we have the business side of things, the entrepreneurial side of things, the marketing side of things, the idea side of things. I mean, there's a lot of different components to what is taking place. And it's important that this is represented in the discussions. It's represented in people who want to stand up and say, okay, we're going to look out for or bring attention to the different components and different segments, because it's very easy to overlook one area in favor of another. For example, we are still at the point in time where there's a lot of development required. We need infrastructure, we need apps built, we need ease of use programmed in, all of this stuff. So it's very easy to focus on the development side of things, but how often do you hear a lot of attention talked about to the entrepreneurial side of things and the attention and focus of bringing entrepreneurs here? So that's just one example, and that was some of the motivation behind this.
Exactly, and as Hive and the crypto space keeps evolving and keep going towards that corporate or that business approach that we definitely need to get more adoption throughout the whole space, this is something that we believe that Hive needs. We need more organization, we need more people getting involved, we need everyone to get to research and to actually know what our blockchain is, what are our pros, what are the obstacles that we can face down the line, but especially to rally together. We are probably one of the most active communities in the crypto space, and we are one of the biggest. Yes, there are blockchains who have hundreds of thousands of users, but we have one advantage. We have the social side. We have at the layer zero, we have a place where we can gather, where we can have conversations, where we can simply just align and then go out of the Hive space to make our voice be heard. So, Nifty, do you want to say something before we start with some of our speakers, please? Nifty, nifty, yo. Okay, I am going to uh, tell some people. Okay, so this is how spaces work because most people here are Hive hardcores, but you don't know how spaces work. We are actually just this is the one of the very first spaces that we're hosting. So the first hour we are going to go with our speakers, and then the second hour we are just going to go through the threadcast and then read out loud what the community has to say. And if someone else wants to speak, you can go ahead and just request to speak. We will give you the mic. Just keep it civil and keep it as much informative as possible. And yeah, so you can either interact on the threadcast or you can ask to speak here. And the first space, well, this first space is just going to be an introduction to what the Hive ecosystem is and why it is important for people and for the community in general to get involved. And I see that Crimson Clad is here with us, and I don't know if there's anyone more capable to explain to the community why is it important for people and for the community to get involved in the day-by-day activities of the blockchain, but also to get involved in governance. Krim, can you explain people what governance is and why it is important for everyone here and everyone on chain to get involved with it?
Oh, just the easy questions to start, hey? All right. So hi everyone. My name's Krim. And I've been around Hive and Steam, I suppose, the legacy.
Okay, Kim was booted. I have no idea why, but uh, Archange has a few minutes only, so I don't know if you want to take that question or you just want to add to the conversation about governance. Archange, the mic is yours.
Hello, hello everybody. My name is Archange. I'm a witness and a Hive developer. Governance is not an easy question to answer. To make it short, it it's a bit Hive. If we compare Hive to a company, it means that everybody participating in Hive has a say in the management of the company. So um, by using your votes you can influence in which directions the Hive project as a whole will go. You can also vote for witnesses. Witnesses are like a board in a company where uh, you delegate some of your government power to those people to decide important things. Um, that's how I would describe governance. But you need to use your power. You have a say, so you can use it to vote for witnesses, to vote for proposals, so decide where the fundings will go, to which project you want to support. So do it. Doesn't cost you anything, and it makes you involved in Hive life, and that's what I would say about governance.
Yeah, it is basically the way that anyone on chain can have a say, no matter how big your stake is or how small it is. You have a say in what gets done or what the direction of the blockchain is. And I see Krim is back here. So, Krim, do you want to keep going?
Sorry, I fat fingered it. It's my fault. I didn't get booted. I just blew it. Yeah, so I'm sorry. I don't know where I cut out, guys, and I'm not going to bother kind of going over my story. But the reality is my place in this space and working with Hive has evolved a lot over the years, and I've kind of followed a journey that I think for a lot of people who come to blockchain, it's a journey that they'll relate to. If they're not in that same sort of flow yet, they will be. And that's that I started as an individual, just an end user, a content creator, just somebody who kind of stumbled into the space trying to understand, where does the magic beans come from? What is this crazy internet money? And from there, your understanding of it changes the way that you think about everything. And I know that sounds a bit hyperbolic, but it's true. As you kind of move around any Web3 space, but Hive in particular, everything you do is part of governance. Every choice you make is something that's put back in your hands, and you're not coerced. You get to choose where your time, your attention, your data, your interest lies. And from there, it kind of starts shaping you to understand that everything you do has value. And it's a really fascinating way for you to understand the world differently. And I think it's a great way of shaping your thought. So governance around blockchain, but specifically governance around Hive, as Arkanj mentioned, there are really sort of tangible forms of governance, which is voting for your witnesses, your block producers. These are the people who run software and servers that secure the chain and actually, check, order, and lock transactions into the blockchain. You have got governance decisions on our DAO mechanism, which is the DHF, and that is a decentralized fund that actually trustlessly disperses funds based on people's opinions and their votes around the chain, all stakeholders. But there's more to governance as well, and that's the ownership aspect. And ownership in this case is you in having a sort of strong control over everything that you want to do on the blockchain. And that governance goes beyond just choosing what happens for other people, but that governance goes into choosing what happens for you. And that's something that's taken away from you in most Web 2 websites, in most Web 2 services. They own everything, and you basically have to adhere to what they want, whether that's censorship or whether that's, simply just shaping your behaviors. Hive is a place where you can work with other people and develop a community and a social set of ideals that you can work towards in a way that allows you to have full agency over what you do on the internet, which is why I have become so incredibly passionate about it, both from a tech side, but also from a social side.
It all comes down to accountability and responsibility. Sorry. So it doesn't matter how big or small you are. You need to know why do you have to get involved with this. It's not just about saying what matters to you, but also about thinking of what is best for the blockchain. And Carl, I think that all of this stems to one main concept. How do we make people get more involved in governance? For example, there is 400 million Hive. There's 160 million Hive staked in the ecosystem, but only around 80 million are voting for witnesses, and only around 28 million right now is voting for the return proposal. Why is it important for people to get involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different ways you can kind of separate it. I think one is from an on-chain kind of development perspective, I think there's some things that can be done that encourage voting in general. One great change, in my opinion, was witness decay voting. So if you don't vote after a certain period of time, your votes no longer get registered. So it kind of encourages people to come back. Um, so I know you mentioned that like 80 million stake is active right now, and a lot of the inactive stake is from people who've been stakeholders for a long time that are kind of off and on the blockchain. So I think there's stuff that you can do at the blockchain level. I think at when you come up from the blockchain level and you look at, from a community level, I think, stuff like this that encourages people to, it basically serves as both a reminder and an education. So, some people actually have been on Hive and I've talked to them, for 6 or 7 years. and they don't even know how the DHF works. They don't really even understand witness voting that much. They just create content and they're active, but they're not, active in the on-chain governance stuff. They're more at kind of like the surface level of, create content, engage, and do stuff like that. So, one thing I'd like to see more of is encouraging people to not only learn about, what like why are witnesses important, but also, what is each witness doing? How active are they on the blockchain? And some witnesses don't post. So I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, well, this witness hasn't posted in 6 months. And, to be fair to those witnesses, posting is not everything. A lot of those witnesses are actually very active at the blockchain level and in terms of developing their own projects. So um, I think a big way to get people involved is for witnesses to maybe be speakers on town halls like this and talk about some of the stuff they're doing. I think a big thing that I've noticed is that a lot of hivers aren't really familiar with the witnesses and don't really understand what each of them do. So I think a big way is have the witnesses do outreach.
And it is pretty hard because on the one hand, you want to onboard normies that do not care about what happens on the back end, that do not care what the technology is, and they just focus on probably gaming or creating content or using the fitness dApps or just being involved with Hive. But on the other hand, you want them to be involved on what happens on the background. So it's kind of a two-side coin, Taskmaster. So how can we build the bridge between having normal users from Web 2 come to Web 3, come to Hive as a home, and ask them to get involved when all they want is just to play a game or post cat pictures or just engage with other people? How can we bridge this? And by the way, Spaces normally doesn't work as someone moderating it. If you want to speak, just raise your hand. It's the little heart icon there next to the comments. We will just be passing the microphone from one to another. So you're more than welcome.
To answer your question, I would say that it's just a continual process. Ultimately, I don't think everybody's going to care about governance, and maybe rightly so. If you're here just to do some simple things and engage and use a few apps, play a game, whatever, fine. That's your utility of the ecosystem. I think for the more serious people, and the people who are looking at building, whether that's an application, whether it's a game, whether it's your brand, whether it's your business, then governance becomes a very, very important issue. And I think that's the versatility that Hive can offer, is that if somebody just shows up and wants to loosely use it for a few simple applications, okay, no problem. But I think as people go further and deeper into the ecosystem, that's where the education becomes important. That's where saying, okay, you are somebody who is more than just a casual user, just here to post a few threads or use Like It Do or play a couple Splinterlands games here and there. You have some more serious intentions. You see greater potential. Governance is obviously something very important. And I think this ties back to the multifaceted approach. Something like HPUD, that can be linked to governance and the discussion around HPUD. Why are you powering up? Why do we have this contest? What does this do for your governance? Well, by powering up and getting more high power, it gives you a greater say in what takes place on the blockchain. So like anything else with Hive, this is an extremely complex system, which I've always said is a great thing because that's why there's so many opportunities cropping up. It takes time. I think it's worth people's time to invest and learn, But to expect somebody to come in to play a few games of Splinterlands to want to dive deep into governance, I think that's just unrealistic. So I think it's one of those where we offer, if you will, the cafeteria plans. There's opportunities for the one who's just a casual Splinterlands player, and there's somebody who's coming here who wants to build a multi-million-dollar business.
It almost prompts as if we should work together as dApps and figure out when is a Hive user worth approaching to get involved in governance, or when is that user going to care about governance. Nifty, what's up?
Yeah, so apologies for my connection. Spaces obviously didn't want me to speak. So you guys really said a lot of things that I was thinking myself when I was trying to get reconnected. You know, we have the people that are super tech savvy, and then we have the other side of people that just want to play Splinterlands or whatever they do. But at some point, we do want to attempt to at least get them involved in what's happening, like maybe get them to one of these town hall meetings, you know. But I think we should have a dynamic way to say when we should approach that user. Maybe they get to 100 Hive power or something like that, and maybe the front ends start to bug them and say, hey, look, you know, we know you're here to just play in Splinterlands, but there's something deeper here. And if you want to get involved, maybe jump on one of these town halls. And that's part of, you know, all of these dApps coming together to get more people involved. So I think that's something we could do. And, you know, obviously not everybody cares about the back end. Not everybody cares about the tech, but those people should still have a say, and they deserve to be heard. So that's my main thing with these town halls. We need to be the voice of those people, or at least let them.
Exactly, and just having this kind of meetings that we used to have a lot back, like Crimson Cloud said, we used to have this. I don't know if they were every 15 days or every month, but a lot of people joined. There were 200, 300 people at the same time on Discord. We decided to do it on Spaces because this is the main way that we can attract more people organically. If you are joining a space and you're a speaker, all of your followers will get a prompt from the dApp, well, from the app, sorry. It's a centralized app. X is super centralized, but it will get a prompt on their notifications to, hey, so wrestling or online organization is speaking here. Do you want to join this space? And then organically, we can get more people. And the point is, or the goal is, if we are 10,000 social users on Hive, we could easily have 5,000 here, and this could actually mean something. Kyle, what's up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I saw a couple comments in the Threadcast where people were asking what governance is. And, you know, I know we kind of touched on the two forms of voting, like witnesses and DHF, but Eric, do you maybe want to like define what governance is, and like, you know, maybe more the basic, like, here's what governance is, here's the types of governance, and here's what you'd vote on?
This is exactly why the Town Hall Witness has different people. For example, John J. Olson, Taskmaster, and Nifty, because we all have different approaches and different backgrounds. And I think Taskmaster is more prepared to answer that question. So yeah, that's me just washing my hands and letting Task explain that.
Thanks. Governance is your influence on the blockchain. It's tied to your HP. So the more HP you have, the more your vote is worth, not only for your voting power for curation, but in the governance votes. The two main things are the witnesses, and the witnesses are your block validators, your block producers. The system we have is a top 20 system plus an alternate that's rotated in that handles the block production. And, you know, everybody outside the top 20 becomes an alternate, and then it runs through on a cycle basis. Anybody can put forth a proposal to get funding out of the DAO, the Decentralized Hive Fund, as Krim mentioned. And if you get enough votes there, then your project will be funded. The votes, again, are tied to the high power people have. This is what makes those decisions. So you can sit there and complain about a particular witness. You can complain about a particular project not getting funded, all that stuff. The bottom line is this is a state-based system. And the direction and the future of many decisions are based upon the voting of one state. And, if witnesses are doing something you don't like, if you increase your stake and you start voting for other witnesses, there can be adjustments. Over the years, we've seen changes in the top 20 witnesses. Doesn't happen often, doesn't happen all the time, but it does take place. And so ultimately it comes down, do you want to have any say in what takes place around here? And you can vote one high power and you have an impact. Obviously, if you have 200 high power over one high power, you have greater impact. 2,000 over 200, same thing. So collectively, that's where communities, that's where groups, they have to look at the high power they have and say, are we being represented? And a lot of this starts with the education process, as we've mentioned a couple times here in this inaugural town hall, is making people aware. And going back to one thing that was asked before, I think a lot of it, Eric, goes to promotion on chain. We have the ability through the social media avenues that we have with Hive to talk about this stuff. We can drop it in threads. People can write articles about it. We can put posts together and discuss this in comment sections of these articles, at least to help with the awareness. And if somebody does post an article about something with governance, others can share it around so maybe new people see it.
Arcane, do you want to add to that conversation?
Yes, I would like to add something about governance and witnesses. Something really important to know about the role of the top witnesses on top of signing blocks is to secure the blockchain. And this is especially important when it comes to hard forks. Because the top witnesses are the ones that will agree or not on new hard forks, meaning new code implemented in the blockchain. And we saw that when Justin Sun was making his hostile takeover. His goal was to gain the control of at least 17 top witnesses in order to be able to change the code of the blockchain. So when you vote for witnesses, especially top witnesses, you when you do governance, you are taking care of the existing blockchain. You are taking care of your asset, and that's why voting for when we have a lot of people from the community voting for witnesses, we reduce the risk of a malicious actor to gain control over the blockchain.
Exactly, and witnesses are basically our representatives, both inside and both to the outside. They are securing what we have here. Without them, we could get easily attacked.
Yeah, and that's what we saw at first with Justin Sun. He tried to gain control over the top 20 witnesses. He had not yet the support from Binance. And so the community was able to fight back. And by people from the community voting for witnesses, doing governance, we were able to bring some legit witnesses back into the top 20 witness, and we were close to prevent him to perform his attacks, and that was only when Justinson got help from Binance that it was we saw that we were kind of fucked up, and we decided to fork. So the community, as a member of the community, has really a role to perform by using the governance power.
Yes, and the main reason that we decided to start with this topic, the governance topic, is because at a base layer, we need more people to get involved. What's the point of being one of the most decentralized blockchains out there? And if they call me Dan heard me, he would say, oh, we are the most decentralized blockchain out there. So what's the point of being that if we don't have an active community that gets involved every single day with governance decisions? Nifty, I see that you have your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, but just because we got the question, what, maybe you don't have to fully understand exactly how governance on the blockchain works. That's totally fine. We know you drive a car and you don't know how the engine works. Maybe you do, but most people don't. But, we're driving this Hive engine, and we don't have to fully understand how it works to be involved. That's my point. We can all be involved. We can all vote. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get involved. You cast your witness votes. Maybe you update them regularly. It all goes back to the education aspect of it.
And so right now we have, I see Carl with the hand up. I'm just going to finish this thought. Right now we have a very, very mature community, even though Hive is a young chain, so to speak. Our community is almost 8 years old. So there are people who already have a name here, who already have a reputation. There are new projects, there are new communities, there are communities who have been around for 5-6 years. We are a very diverse community. And this will go on to my next thought. But Cal, what's up?
Yeah, I was just gonna play off of Nifty's point that not a lot of people drive a car, but they don't know how the engine works. And if you kind of overlay that to Hive governance voting, a big thing about governance is that you also can set proxy votes, and I think that's kind of a big thing that a lot of people miss, which is that if you build, there's a lot of people that are active on Hive and of them. Like, a lot of people know Crim, a lot of people know Archange, a lot of people know, Acid Yo or Taskmaster. And if you trust their judgment, you actually can proxy vote to them, which is kind of like the half measure to getting involved in governance, which is why Nifty's point kind of reminded me of it. Where, like, if you say, okay, I'm a Hive user, but maybe I'm not active, on a daily basis, and I'm not going to keep up with the top 20 witnesses and what they're doing for the blockchain. But I know Taskmaster and I trust him, so I'm going to set him as my proxy vote. And I think it's worthwhile to kind of educate people about that point also.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how involved you are, as long as you get active, either by casting your votes on the witness list or on the DHF proposals. You can do so, or you can just set someone to be your voice. And I see Manu with the hand up. I also want to prompt you for a specific topic, Manu. I was mentioning how communities are becoming a force on Hive. Yes, you have the whales, you have the established communities, but you also have the new communities that are starting to make a name for themselves. And these communities can have at an individual level, they can have a small high power, but together they can have a real impact on what gets done or how the votes go on the blockchain. It doesn't matter if you're a whale, if you don't have a community, or if you don't have, or if you are not part of a community, there is a chance that another community, for example, Hive Cuba, and that's why I actually wanted your opinion on this. communities are having much more influence right now. And as time goes by and the members are committed and have a long-term vision for Hive, these communities will play a very key role on how governance works, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. Manu, what's up? Manu, we cannot hear you. Maybe you want to drop from the spaces and join again. Just ask to speak. And yeah, I will pass on the mic. We have Wu in the house who hasn't spoken yet. Hey, man, do you have anything to add to the conversation?
Yeah, actually, I have a few things I'd like to talk about. Hey guys, thanks for inviting me to the space. I know some of you guys might know about our project, Wrestling Organization Online, otherwise known as Woo. What we're looking to do is we're looking to leave wrestling a better place than we found it, and we're able to do that with the Hive blockchain. It's actually been really amazing to see how Hive really pushes their projects. And I want to speak about, we've been talking about governance and voting. What about voting on the value plan proposal that has just been released a few days ago? That value plan is incredibly important to the growth of Hive. It allowed us, Wrestling Organization Online, to go to the Rare Evo convention in Denver, have a presence there where we can make connections, have our wrestlers meet other people. And you'd be surprised how many people in the crypto community know who our wrestlers are and are excited to meet them. We were also able to go to the Breathe convention in Vegas. And what we did at the Breathe convention in Vegas brings tears to my eyes because it leaves my heart so full. Again, our mission is leaving wrestling better than we found it. One of our partnered wrestlers, Perry Saturn, has found himself in a really hard place. He hasn't been out to see the wrestling community for about 20 years now. Hasn't been on TV for about 20 years. I hasn't seen a lot of those wrestlers and the comrades that he has and the people that care about him. And we brought him to Vegas and reconnected him with some of his friends like Sonny Ono and Disco Inferno, and seeing the smile on Perry's face when he was back around people that cared about him. I literally was in the Uber ride on the way home, Saturn and Sunny up front, and tears were in my eyes because my heart was so full. I felt so good, and that is something that is directly a result of Hive. It is a direct result of the community, the vast Hive community coming together and making this work for us, and changing people's lives. We were able to save Perry Saturn's house from being taken from him. That is real change. That is real positive change. And we're able to do that with the community and with governance, with people voting on proposals. And that's why we are a witness. I believe we're in the top 60-ish, maybe 62 or something like that as a witness. And we've been around for just over a year. But we want to give back to the community. We all grow in this together. We're all in the same boat together. Let's rise together. And so having these Twitter spaces is huge to get the information out there to the regular people. It's also huge to get us together to speak to each other. And if you see some of these accounts and some of these projects that you aren't following, go follow them. Share this space out on your Twitter. Share it out with your community. Get the word out there, and let's grow this baby. Woo!
Yeah, man, that's exactly what value plan is. But I have Crimson here asking to speak, and I was actually going to just throw the microphone at her because, I mean, she's one of the representatives of the value plan initiative. So who else best to talk about it?
Oh, well, first of all, I just wanted to see if Manu, can you unmute? He's got his hand up. Let's just see, because I want him to get his bit in, but I want to talk about the community stuff
No,
too. Go
first,
ahead.
ladies first.
Okay. Fair. All right. So forget the value plan stuff for a second, although, honestly, Booker bringing that up is a great point. One of the things that I think is so awesome in getting to watch this as we go, and speaking specifically to that idea of communities becoming an incredibly important part of governance voting. I think Manu's example of like Hive Cuba becoming essentially like really important voting block along with our other communities. You know, here's Woo as an example as well. When you think of the type of people who end up in the blockchain space, disruptive tech, you probably don't immediately think of wrestling fans, and that's not a slight. It's just what a different style of, approaching entertainment, right? You're watching athletes, you're out in physical arenas. What you're interested in doesn't necessarily immediately correlate with, a nerdy disruptive tech kind of blockchain stack. And yet, here is Hive building a crossover where games and social feedback loops exist, where communities end up pulling together because you can share whatever the heck you want on the blockchain. And the more that we kind of create these fun places for people to gather that are more equitable, like forums or front ends or what have you, social spaces where people gather around a common interest, they become a community that potentially has a completely different set of values. And it's one of the reasons that Hive is so poised to have such a strong governance mechanism. And it's not just the tech side of things, it's because specifically this blockchain builds a really incredibly varied and distributed user base. Every vote you make, forget about governance even on witnesses and DHF, every vote you make every day is distributing Hive to different people around the world and actually decentralizing this blockchain further. So when you start bringing in groups that come together around a different set of interests, something like wrestling, you are suddenly opening up this space that we're saying we want to see diversified every day, distributed every day. You're opening it up to a group of people you wouldn't have been able to reach in any other way, which is the coolest part about our dApps and our different groups, whether they're cultural, whether they're interest based, whether they're service based. However, it is that these communities with different approaches, different interests, different people, however they come to the blockchain, they have this social feedback loop where they can talk, where they can gather, and where, yeah, they can actually kind of decide, here's what we want to see, let's all vote for it. And so for me, Woo is a great example of people who would have never, never, never found our blockchain space, who now, find someone that either they've watched in the past that have ties to their childhood, that compete in a sport that they're interested in, or they get drawn in buying, the magical cardboards, the trading card game, and they love that aspect of it. And I really am excited to see how each of these communities brings people that we would not have had otherwise. It's crowdsourcing and crowdfunding knowledge in a way, which I think is huge for balanced governance.
Exactly, and just like Krim says, forget about all of the rewards from posts and from comments and all of that. Every vote you cast as an individual is telling or is signaling, hey, I want you to have a bigger say on the governance. I want you to have more Hive tokens so that whatever you stand for, you have a bigger influence. So the more that we spread Hive as a token with the community, the more that we have to take into account what is the Hive that is being spread used for. So if you align with someone, even if they post, you could say low quality stuff, if they align with what you think is best for the blockchain, that is also value. So the best part of this decentralized space is that anyone can do whatever they want with their vote. Manu, go ahead. Welcome.
Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you first for inviting me. I wasn't sure I would be here because of my work, and now I'm on the street. So if you hear any sound, sorry for that. I'm in Cuba, and here is a bit very loud place. Um, I wanted to talk about how Cuba, and in a way, how it has empowered many Cubans in many different ways. Because we are not just a trading card game or a focused community on any topic. We are just a community for everyone in the country that are welcome to play a game or create content or vote for the content or anything that they do. Um, I wanted to speak about the previous topic that was about witnesses and voting. There's something that we need to do with these users that sometimes they don't know about what a witness is or how they can help with the votes to maintain the blockchain. And I think we need to approach that from every single community that we have, because Hive, we need to remember that Hive is a big community, but it's a big community made from many communities. So not everyone can know what a witness is, but he can know about it from another friends that is doing the same, or they're both playing a game, or they are both in a community that is about about a country like Cuba, or they're just, I don't know, posting pictures and lie to. I don't know. People should tell them about in any way. Maybe we can do a mechanism for marketing, for inside marketing on Hive. Maybe, I don't know. But I think we should do it. We should think about and how to approach that. Um, I wanted to say I don't have much time, but I also wanted to say that we have something that is really good for this, and it's our reputation system that is based on every single thing that we do, every single interaction, transaction that we do on our blockchain. And it's something that sometimes people forget. People forget to see that number when someone is commenting or reaching them, and people need to know more about that, because that's the way we can know that we are talking to someone that is actually not about. There is a real person that has some value, or has bring some value to the blockchain, to the community, or wherever he's at, in any place or so we need to somehow tell more about our communities, tell a little more about this, because people need to know how this works and how they can use it to be more safe in our space, and for that to know how people are using our blockchain, how they're contributing, how a witness has become a witness in the top 20, or is doing it because he just want to help the blockchain. And that's how Cuba become a witness, because we just have the enough amount to our correction project to just have a server and be a witness. No matter how many votes that we get on our witness, we would be we will always keep our witness servers on, because just because we can, because we wanted to hear our blockchain. So no, I don't know if many witnesses do it that way, because that was our way to contribute the trust that the blockchains has provided. So
Exactly, and just like Manu says, it's all about getting the small user, the little guy, to get involved. It doesn't matter how much Hive you have, getting involved and having as many witnesses as possible. It doesn't matter how far or how close you are from the top 20. The more witnesses we have means that at least at one point you will run a block, and that means the blockchain is getting more decentralized. At one point we used to have around 120 active witnesses. Right now I don't have the number, but I see the top 100 have a lot of inactive witnesses. If you are voting for any inactive witness, or anyone who hasn't updated their feed or done anything related to being active in the blockchain governance, you should change all of your votes. Krim, I know you have to leave very soon, so I have a question for you that I think the community will be glad to hear. Right now, it seems like we are playing the governance game, but also uh, anyone who has something to add to the conversation that might not be positive or might put someone in a bad light, it seems like people are doubting into doing it or not, because of course we are a transparent blockchain. Everyone can know who said what, and there might be some fear of retaliation, or thinking that you're a toxic person or that you're a problematic person. how can we encourage people to be more vocal, no matter how much stake they have, without thinking, oh, there's going to be consequences?
Yeah, that's a doozy. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. We're doing okay for time, because there's normally first Monday of the month is the core dev meeting where we kind of get as many of our core developers and really technical people together to do a live stream meeting for that. But we did cancel it today because a bunch of us are here. So yeah, we're gonna have to talk about timing. But that's a doozy of a question, and it's one of those things where going back to our very first town halls, very, very early, 6 years ago or whatever, I have this thing that I haven't been able to do for a long time, and I clap for emphasis. And I'll tell you the easiest way to handle this when you need to speak your mind. Kindness costs nothing. You can say whatever you want, and we encourage you to do that here. Just think about how you frame it. It's as simple as that. I think Hive Fest and in-person gatherings are the most perfect example. I can think of people who on chain I really don't get along with, or I don't agree with, and I don't like. And we've never really had a bad run-in. But these are people who, if you asked me, no, thank you, that's fine, I'll pass. Then you meet them in person and you realize, nope, you are reading what's on chain with your own personal bias. And this is something that is so difficult for humans. This is not a Hive thing. This is not a blockchain thing. This is a human thing. And one of the things I like to say about Hive a lot is it's a human blockchain. It's human tech built by humans for humans, and then we human all over it. So, there are some very real concerns about, oh no, somebody's going to be really mad at me if I say something, or somebody's going to downvote me. And one of the hardest shifts to make in our space is thinking about the way that you read and the way that you write, in that we do still on chain commit things to text. And it can be a little tricky because you're really always going to have an opinion in your head. And when you read somebody else's words, you're going to kind of overlay that opinion on it. And so often you'll find a lot of the exchanges that feel like they're getting heated, or things that kind of spiral when they shouldn't, are because people are they're projecting that worry onto the conversation. So my best advice to you to start is simply always just assume the other person isn't trying to personally hurt your feelings. And that's a really hard thing. All of life, that's good advice, and it's hard to do. I'm bad at it also. But I will say, you're going to have some opinions that people don't like. You are going to have beef with other people. That is inevitable in a space where humans gather, and especially in a space where humans are trying to come to consensus on anything, whether it's technological or not. When you add distribution and rewards to the sort of mix, it gets a little messier yet. So there's two things that I can say to you. And the first one I have, which is, do your very best to just assume that somebody's not coming for you. They will probably really make it clear if they are. And I know, because I get a lot of those messages. But the other thing is, remember that this blockchain doesn't force you to be nice. People are always worried about downvotes. And I think that's fair, but only to a degree. Because at the end of the day, as much as it does hurt, and everybody goes, oh, well, you're a big account, so downvotes don't hurt you. But as much as it does hurt to think there is a positive visual form of feedback to you that was not encouraging. A downvote, a flag, looks and feels bad. It feels bad to us as people. But it also doesn't stop you in any way. And in most cases, downvotes are often one-offs because somebody doesn't agree with your saying, and they are not huge. The second that you sort of kind of brace yourself and get over the fact that you're going to get a downvote at some point on this chain, you kind of gain a superpower. And you start realizing that it's okay because no one can stop me from saying this opinion. And it gives you a chance to kind of reflect, how important is this opinion to me? And if I'm worried about getting downvoted for it, should I be talking to other people? Should I find more people who also hold this opinion? Am I so far out to lunch, or is this something that not enough people right now are thinking about? So I'm not suggesting that you all go out and yell at each other and get, downvoted into oblivion, but there's two ways to take it. You can only control yourself, which means how you speak to other people and how you frame your arguments, but also how you read what other people are saying. Everyone here is passionate about this blockchain and about some topic, which gets them a little riled up. But the biggest thing that I kind of want to help people dispel is there's a chance you're going to get a downvote out there. I don't think that it's worth it in most cases to silence yourself based on that. And, the flip side is everybody goes, well, a whale will rocket me into the ground and destroy me. Take a look around the chain and take a look around sort of how many accounts that's actually happened to, and then look at sort of the conversation that's happening that's led them there. And you'll see usually the few places that this does happen, it's because people are incredibly heated, incredibly there are interactions that in the real world, if we're happening face to face, would be incredibly problematic. And even then, you are still able to go read those conversations because those people are not removed from the blockchain. Their opinions are not removed. But you can come to that consensus as a group of, do I want this around me or not? So, I mean, this will never be an easy topic. There's no way around it. But I think in a lot of cases, we do so much internal worrying and internal projecting of our fears and our concerns and our insecurities that this is another space for communities to kind of come together. If you're a little worried about your opinion or you're really scared of saying something, one of the best things that you can do in real life and on the blockchain is asking your friends and a few people in the wider community that you touch upon, because it turns out the more that you speak to other people, the more you're going to understand your own opinion, and you're either going to build up support behind it or you may change your mind a little bit. But I think that comes back to what's really good about the social feedback on Hive and where communities are going to come into play for people to feel more comfortable expressing their opinions.
And I do think that the key takeaway, I mean, not that everything that you said wasn't important, but the key takeaway here is that 90% of the replies or the response that you will get depends on how you frame it and how you proceed in talking about the topics.
It's a skill. It's a skill that you always got to work on. It's that's not a Hive thing specifically.
Yes, thanks, Graham, for that take. I do want to get back to the community's side of things and how that's one of the main foundations that we've had for 7 years, but that it's going to take a bigger role in the future. And Cal, I know that you are a big proponent of communities as an influence core and how they can change how Hive works. Do you want to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing on what Krim said, if you have conversations with people, it really can change your perspective. And I saw that firsthand when I went to Hive Fest last week, and met a lot of you guys for the first time. So when you look at that from the community layer, getting involved in a community is really what changed my kind of perspective on this blockchain and got me more involved in the legacy chain and everything we used to do there. I found different little pockets of people that kind of talked about the same thing, and obviously back then we were kind of conformed to just long form, writing blog posts and commenting on each other's blog posts. But even back then, there were creative ways to kind of get involved with each other, and we would ping each other on each other's comment sections and stuff like that. But nowadays we have these like really powerful community features. Whether you look at Peak D's UI or Ecency or Leo's UI, there's tons of ways to see the different communities and join them and create content in them and overall just kind of put your name out there. And I think that's a huge way to also lead into governance because, when you start building out your network and you get familiar with different people, you start to kind of not necessarily just adopt their views, but actually just think about their views and learn from them and see what they have to say about different witnesses, see what they have to say about different proposals. And I think the community, like the hive mind or the brain power behind the community, is a really important thing to tap into. And I think communities themselves, the individualized communities, are a great way to kind of organize people around different ideas, and then drive those into governance decisions.
Right on. And for those who are listening and you want to chip in the conversation, just ask to speak. This is not a closed space. Anyone can speak. The town hall is supposed to be where anyone, no matter who you are, you can just add your takes. If you don't feel comfortable with voice, remember we have a threadcast where you can just add whatever, and we will start reading them. There's 420 comments already, but we will go through them. Leo Finance will vote some, will curate some of the good ones. Probably some of the speakers will do as well. I was gonna say Taskmaster is pretty silent. He's got us very used to having a lot of takes on things. But Nifty, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you have something to say, even if you don't if you're not tech savvy or don't quite know how things work, speak up. We're all part of the same family here. We're all headed towards the same direction. We all want the best for this ecosystem, and it's better for you to not stay silent. Speak. Put your hand up, ask a question. If you don't know how something works, someone in the community does. Just ask. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to, make you feel uncomfortable if you just want to speak on anything. So just wanted to put that out there.
100%. Task, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add about Cal, and I'll get a little bit futuristic here if I can for a second. Communities are important because I believe this is a precursor in the future to DAOs. We are going to see a lot of the communities that are forming over time will evolve into DAOs as different facets of technology are integrated. We know that, generative AI is starting to take off. We know there's different things, and being centralized with regulators and government agencies isn't a great thing and puts a target on your chest. So there's a variety of reasons and factors feeding into this. But when we start to look at where things can be in 5, 7, 10 years, it's going to be a vastly different world technologically. And this is really paving a way. And to a certain degree, you could make a case, and I think it would be a valid case, that Hive itself is a DAO. And your stake, your governance vote, even though it's human, it does release automated features. It releases, the payouts of the reward pool. It releases, and updates the witness voting to the moment. It releases funding from the DHF. And we may over time see more of that, whether it be at the base layer or whether it be with these layer 2 side chains and things that are being created there. Eventually we're going to have smart contracts. It could be related to NFTs. I mean, we don't know where all of this is going to go, but that's the direction things are headed in. And so it's important to get some of these basic fundamental habits, if you will, ingrained in us to look at the DHF proposals occasionally, to look and review your witness votes occasionally, to make sure you are staking as much as you can comfortably, so you are growing your influence on chain, especially if you are building something. And also as a community that, like Manny was talking about with Hive Cuba, as a community, or the Woo community, or the Leo community, or the basket weaving community, the photography community, it doesn't matter what community, that those communities can be represented. And it all comes back to that simple premise: what stake are we collectively voting with, and what impact is it going to have? And the final thing I'd say before I'll mute myself again is for those who don't think their vote matters, that there isn't a lot, oh, I don't have much HP. Well, first off, as we witnessed with the Justin Sun situation, even though Justin Sun prevailed in the end, a lot of small token holders united. They voted with the community, and their collective stake did make a difference. So that's the first thing. So do not overlook that. The second thing, always keep in mind, it's a percentage basis of the total. So if you have 100 HP and you go to 200 HP, you say, well, that's only 100 HP. But your influence individually just doubled. And if you go from 100 HP to 400 HP, you just 4x your influence. You are not going to see an account. I don't know who the largest account holder is. Let's say Block Trades. Block Trades is not going to double his stake. I mean, to go from whatever he's at to double, it's not going to happen. So always keep that in mind. So even if you're at 25 HP, get yourself to 50 HP, then 100, then 200, then 400. Try to keep working up the scale because it does have an impact, especially if you start to get into a newer community like a Hive Cuba or something like that, where all of a sudden, hey, I can make a difference over here.
Bookerman, what's up? Thank you, Taskmaster. That was incredibly valuable. Bookerman, are you around?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to kind of add in a little bit what Taskmaster was saying about increasing Hive power, increasing your voting stake. There's many different ways you can increase it. One way that we have increased our influence on Hive is we offered HP delegation rewards. So if you delegate your HP to Wrestling Organization Online, and we could use that HP to curate our community and give back rewards to our community, we gave you some Woo token. We're still actually offering this. But by doing that, we've increased our Hive power to just under 200,000. I want to say we only have about 10,000 Hive power staked, and there's about 180,000 delegated. And you know, using that in proxy votes, there's many different ways that you can increase your influence, increase your distribution, and have a bigger say. And the nice thing is about Hive is I'm not a developer. I just had a developer meeting during this Twitter space too, but half the stuff I don't know what that's all about. I am a more of in a leadership role. I come from film and television and film production, so I'm more in working with people to make something, bringing their talents in and creating something cool. And we've been lucky enough to do that. And we've been able to do that by using tools that are available through some of the great developers like Yabba Matt, even Aggie and his Hive engine and tribal decks, and allowing new projects to enter the space and not be intimidated. Because the big thing is, like, when you're a new project and you're trying to get into Web3 and you're not a developer, it's the door is closed to you in most places. You either need a big hose of money or you need to be a developer. And Hive was not closed off to us. We were able to build our community, talk about wrestling, talk about our partnered wrestlers, build that up. We were able to release assets, tokens, NFTs, have a marketplace, all for very, very cheaply. It was so beneficial for us as a startup to start on Hive. I would tell anyone that was starting a new quality project that actually solved a problem, I would tell them to build on Hive. I would hands down tell them to build on Hive, because you can build a community and you can find people that fit in your community from other people's communities. For example, like the Pizza Guild, I saw them in here earlier today. Having them be a part of Woo from the beginning was huge. It allowed us a bunch of users that now know about our project, that like wrestling and want to talk about wrestling, and that expands over the broad Hive community. And so you can find your niche here. You can build here. You can do it way cheaper than you can do it on other chains. You can find quality developers, because we do have many quality developers. There's so many that are here right now, but there's so many that are just in the back end, just coding away. And as you guys were saying earlier, sometimes they don't have the presence because they're not making a bunch of posts, but they're constantly building on Hive. And yeah, that was just my 2 cents. I really do love Hive. I am super uh pro Hive. I think it's the best chain to start a project on, hands down. And the love that you get from the broader community isn't found anywhere else. That's all I had to say.
100%. And I'm going to start reading out loud some of the questions on the threadcast. If anyone who's a speaker wants to respond to them, just raise your hand. I'm just going to go with the first one. Eurosol is saying, it is well known in marketing psychology that the fear of losing something is far more of a significant impactor than it is the excitement of gaining something. Downvoting was originally only for policing of relatively extreme content, and I like this take, because one thing that we didn't mention, but that it's definitely something that can happen. If you don't feel comfortable being vocal about something that you don't like about governance, witnesses, DHF, whatever, you can always talk to your most trusted witness, or to someone who aligns with your with the way you think, and you can just tell them, hey, I noticed this. You as a witness, you are a top 40 witness, you're a top 20 witness. I don't feel comfortable speaking out. Can you do it for me? And that's what witnesses are. Well, part of the responsibility of witnesses is being the voice of the small users. So just reach out to one of these witnesses and tell them, hey, I feel like this. Can you be vocal about it? And then someone will do it for you if you don't feel comfortable. So I'm scrolling through the threadcast. I see the logical duties here. Hey man, do you want to add something to the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of wanted to real quick piggyback on Woo's comments about building businesses on Hive. It is absolutely the best chain to do so. I've tried to build on different chains, but I keep coming back to Hive. And, so, with Hive List and Blocktunes and Hive Hustlers, it just was the best fit to really get a business going, whether it's just a, branded blog like Hive Hustlers has turned out to be, or, like my, e-commerce site like Hive List, there's a ton of opportunities out there. So, yeah, don't limit yourself. But my biggest thing, and kind of goes to that too, is getting engaged in the community is also extremely important. And one thing that small users tend to be a little weary of is trying to get in and actually jump in and engage with these with these different accounts. A lot of us are actually looking for feedback from the community, because how are we supposed to know what the community wants without the feedback from the community? So it's important for small users to really engage and get involved and put their say out there, kind of thing, whether it's logical or not. It's there's never a dumb question, is what I always grew up saying. So but yeah, don't be afraid to get engaged. And that's and I see things all the time on how to build yourself individually on Hive. And my biggest piece of advice to that is to not worry about your own content at first. Get involved in other people's content, comment. Because what a lot of people don't realize is comments are essentially posts. So you can, have a very long opinion about something, if it's on one of the short forms, and, you may have to expand on a different front end or something. But yeah, it, put your voice out there, get involved, because you never know who you're going to get, who you're going to meet, who you're going to get yourself involved with, and where it's going to eventually take you. I never thought that 3 years ago I'd essentially be living almost full time on crypto. Well, it's happened, and here I am, and I've got a huge community of people that have helped make that happen. So get out there, get involved, don't be scared. That's what I had to say.
100%. And engagement is also a way that you can grow your influence on Hive. There are many, many stakeholders who, I mean, at first glance would be like, oh, this guy has 10,000 Hive power. This guy has 20,000 Hive power. Yes, but his follower base is huge because they engage with other people, they comment, they get involved with the community, and their influence within governance is bigger than what their wallet says.
Yeah, you can't
So
always go by what your wallet says because, like I said, people like me, we actually live on this stuff. I'm in the middle of a power down now to pay for a cross country move. I'm moving from one side of the US to the other, actually leaving in a couple of hours. And so, yeah, you can't always go by what's in the wallet. Reputation's a good one to kind of go by here. There's some flaws in that. In the reputation numbers and that kind of thing, but it's just what the person is contributing to the blockchain. You can look at all that on chain, like Krim was saying earlier. You can verify, you can see what these people are about by what they're posting on chain. So go by that versus just a wallet amount.
yes, there's way more to that than just the size of the wallet. Carl, I saw that you just joined. Do you want to add to the conversation?
Oh no, sorry, I just got kicked out and then had to come back in.
Yeah,
That's
I'm Krim. I am reading something that might interest you. Hugo Marcel is saying, everyone on Hive needs to be on this space. I have learned more about the Hive ecosystem on spaces than I have on the blog side of things. People need to know what governance and witnesses are. So, how, like, as a big community leader, how can we make these spaces get more reach? I mean, we just talked about the planning. We are gonna announce this for the next month with more advance and pick a time that is better for everyone. But how can we, or how can the community get involved in pushing this far and wide so that more people attend and more people learn? We're going to change topics every month. We're going to have DAP guests. We're going to have witnesses as guests. So what's up?
So you're the Twitter expert, my man. Expert. That's a terrible portmanteau. To be quite honest, this answer is not a slam. But what I will say is that the best way to learn is to try and teach if you have the joy for it. And so we have a lot of people who actually do these types of events. And so the best kind of way to do this is, take a crack at it, come to the ones that you have a chance to come to, obviously share them around, but realistically encourage people in your own groups and spaces to build them. And, I mean, here we've got Task is here, and John is part of your witness initiative as well. I mean, there's CTT, which is the Three Speak guys doing community token talk. You've got the Cryptomaniacs podcast. You've got, I mean, even up until this last year, I was doing every week on Saturday, I was doing a disruptive tech podcast called Cyberbuzz, and people would come and we would do exactly this. And so, one of the things that I think is really effective, and, do as I say, not as I do, because unfortunately I got sent so many places for Hive this year that my own podcast kind of, they got pushed to the side. So even when I do resume them, one of the best things you can do is, as you're teaching, as you're talking about these other spaces as well, because there's a form of receptiveness and responsiveness that we have when we can hear or see each other that will always be different than text. And part of it is that contextual reading. But a lot of it comes down to word of mouth. How do you find out about things in the public square in the real world? And you guys can't see me making air quotes right now. The real world. You talk about it. You talk about what you watched on TV to your friends. You talk about the podcast you listened to on the bus. Word of mouth is so important. And so one of the best things that I would love to see is the more of these initiatives that we have, whether that is the existing spaces, the existing podcasts, the existing streams on chain, is that everybody starts shouting out everybody else in that way, because you remember it a little bit differently when you hear it. But yeah, and actually I just saw Oyabong just suggested that we actually draw like a timetable or a calendar. This might be something that's really awesome. We have a new account that is started on the blockchain called Buzz Party, which actually is highlighting all of the in-person events. Maybe we can reach out and we can create on some of the front ends a calendar for things like all of these podcasts, X Spaces, etc., that allows people to kind of jump into wherever somebody's teaching or talking that fits their schedule. Because certainly, I mean, I'm going to be bringing back my shows on Sunday as well, because people have been really asking to do that. And so I think there's no upper limit on how many of these kinds of events we have, and they will grow quickly if you say, okay, listen, we had a lot of fun in this X space. If you like this and you like half these people, well, it turns out tomorrow they're going to be over here doing it on this space. And you'll see that kind of thing that gains momentum so quickly. It's too easy to miss a text or something that just flew by in your notifications without you hearing it and having sort of the impetus and understanding the people that will be behind it.
If I can add just one thing, what Krim said, and not only does it apply to what she's saying, but I think this goes to the entire how do we market Hive or how do we attract people to Hive? Nothing attracts people more than success and promoting our successes. And whether it's a Spaces or whether it's a Threadcast or whether it's a show like CTT, Cryptomaniacs, Cryptoholics, whatever, if we start talking about the success and saying, hey, in the last month's Spaces for the town hall, we had 200 people. That lets people know there's something there, there's success. And that's how we start building momentum. I mean, it's one thing to promote stuff, and that's not a bad way to go, but nothing sells like success.
Yeah, and just like Krim says, as long as the moment that we gain momentum, this is going to happen very, very fast. Right now, we have a Hive Zealy community that is mostly focused on this, on rallying the Hive community from within the blockchain into Web2 and into trying to outreach more people and to make people notice Hive. And that's just exactly how this whole idea of the town hall came to be. We need to be vocal. We need to spread Hive. We need to tell people that Hive exists. And for those who are listening right now, if you scroll a little bit under the speakers, you will see that we have the, I don't want to say official because I don't even know if the word applies, but we have the community representative X account. You will see it as Hive. Just click on that and follow if you are not following, and just be on the lookout, because this is the account where the Hive community puts out all of the important announcements and all of the things to be aware of. So if you haven't followed them, go do it now, please, if you are very kind. I'm just searching on the Threadcast for more for more comments, I'm seeing Princess Busayo. Don't laugh at me, please. When I first joined Hive and saw Archange asking to be voted as a witness, I thought he was a scammer. But now that I have now that I've learned about it, and now that I know more about Hive, I know who he is. But the point here is people don't know what witnesses are and what is the purpose of witnesses. So yes, I don't know if someone else wants to add anything to the conversation here before. I'm just gonna go on a rant reading comments from the audience. But if someone else wants to add something, now's the time. I'm going to put you on the spot, Nifty, and say that you want to say something.
Yeah, I just unmuted anyway, so I beat you to it. In a non hard to understand way, the witnesses are community representatives. They're the people that are voted in by everyone that has a stake on Hive, that has any amount of Hive power. Anyone can vote, even if you only have one Hive power. So the witnesses are the voice of community, and they're the ones, looking out for the best interest of the blockchain and keeping it running. So if you don't vote for witnesses, do yourself a favor. You can do it from Peak D. You can go to, your witness votes. I can't think of exactly how to get there at the moment. But yeah, you can go to your witness votes and you can take a scroll through and see if you recognize any of those names there. And, if you do, go ahead and give them some support. I know Hive Cuba has one. I know Leo Finance has one. Of course, Town Hall will be live very soon. So yeah, go support the people that are active. Go support the people that are speaking on these spaces outward, to beyond Hive, not necessarily the echo chamber. Yeah, so definitely, if you don't vote for any witnesses or don't know how to do that, reach out to one of us. Make your vote count.
Just vote. What's up, the logical dude?
So just to piggyback on that, and to not forget our second layers too. So some of the witnesses don't, or some of the people that operate, say, side chain front ends, like myself, we don't necessarily have a full Hive witness, but we may actually support the second layer. So check that out too. Not to complicate things any further, but Hive Engine does also have a witness structure as well. You have to have the worker B token to vote for that. And that also earns you some of their B token too. So definitely make sure to do not forget the Hive Engine witnesses, because we are also working really hard to secure the second layer.
Yeah, I cannot echo this more. Yes, the Hive governance is important, but as we grow and as we evolve, there's going to be a lot of layer twos and a lot of dApps that will need the involvement of the token holders. So just like the logical dude says, you not only need to vote on the layer one, there are also a lot of layer two places where we need to be decentralized. And I am reading about Brando28. He's saying, question about supporting multiple witnesses. Is my vote power divided between them, or does the same power support each one? To answer that question, if you have 1,000 HP and you vote for 30 witnesses, your 1,000 high power will go for all of them. So you are not dividing it. You are using all of your high power for each of your 30 witness votes. Bitcoin Flood is saying, I don't think it's much to ask a witness to post about what they are doing once a month to keep everyone informed as to what, well, the threadcast move, as to what they are doing, even if it's as simple as securing the chain. This is very true. Okay, Krim, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm going to just kind of throw in here. I actually agree with you wholeheartedly, but I will say from the opposite side of it, how it can happen that this may not be the case. So some of you guys may know, some of you may not. From the legacy chain forwards, I was a consensus block producer for more than 5 years. So basically right through the split and right up till recently, I was one of the top 20 witnesses. I will tell you, boy, oh boy, did I suck at posting. And in general, now I suck at posting. And it is actually soul crushing, to be quite honest. It's difficult because depending on the role that you take on, how you are perceived and how your posts do is another weird thing that kind of happens. So I'm just going to throw this out there is nobody's actually really immune to overthinking about things like downvotes and upvotes and this, that, and the other thing. But for me personally, I usually work about 6 hours a day on Hive stuff. And by the time that I get back to just, should I make a post explaining that today I took some more meetings and did, my software is good, is that adding to the conversation? No, it's not. And part of that comes back to the expectation that witnesses also be contactable in, as the flip side. And I think and hope that I'm open and accessible to everyone. But I will say, as somebody who really, really struggled with that balance because of the enormity of work that I take on, I'm not sure what the right answer is there. But one thing that always played on my mind and that became actually a little bit problematic and probably something we can talk about is that when I did make a post, it would get so many votes, too many votes, to be quite honest, for a witness update. It would make way too much rewards. And that became something that incredibly problematic in that, for some people, they felt, well, here's another witness just getting voted on by everyone and making all this money. And it actually bred a little bit of resentment. And that became something that has played in my mind a lot about how I approach when I communicate on chain. The problem is when you do kind of become somebody that's recognized or often that, I guess is liked or whatever, sometimes your posts are over rewarded and that's fine. But for people who aren't really aware of that relationship, it feels either disheartening or upsetting, or in a lot of cases, people feel that there's sort of collusion or circle jerking. And these are all these sort of really complex topics that don't come to mind until you get deep into Hive and you've spent some time here. But it's a part that impacts governance that I think about quite a lot, especially on my own behalf. And I don't have a great answer for that. But in terms of, if I've got X amount of time today to spend on Hive tasks, is it going to be rewriting the same automated post twice a week, every week and just powering along that way? Or is it going to be actionable stuff? And for me, I've chosen actionable stuff. And so I think there's probably going to be a lot of feedback where people tell me, well, you've chosen wrong. And I'll be interested to hear that because now at current, I'm not actually witnessing. So my approach to things has kind of calmed down a bit because I don't have that same sort of community requirement, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I'd kind of be interested to hear, is there a time or a place where you think it is okay that witnesses don't give magically sort of weekly consistent updates or super consistent updates, or no, it should happen? And what does that look like?
Well, here's an idea, and I'm just reading Kenneth Chukwu comment. He's saying this is the first shot at this town hall meetup, and everything already looks well planned and organized. Oh, believe me, we want this to be more professional, and we want this to be more to have a better flow. Yes, this is the first time that we're doing it. We hope to get better at it. But going back to the topic that Krim is saying, one of the main goals of this town hall would be to have, let's say, we have 20 top witnesses and 10 backup witnesses. And for those who don't know, the top 20 are the ones that run most of the chain. Then the backup witnesses are from the 21 to the 30, which run some blocks in between the top 20. And then you have all the other witnesses, and depending on the rank that they are, means how many blocks during a day or during a week they actually process. The point of this town hall would be, so let's say we have 30 witnesses at the top, maybe bringing 5, maybe bringing 6 every 3 months, every quarter, every 6 months, whatever, and just have them share, hey, I am witness number 7, my name is Pedro, and I'm going, and I do this for the chain. and then this actually takes off from that weight from their backs of having to, oh, I have to share with the community what I'm doing or who I am, or for the newbies, people who come and do not know what I do. Well, maybe you can just come here every 3 months and just speak about your witness, what you do, just take 15 minutes, and that's it. And the point is to push these town halls to everyone so nobody misses them. Cal, I see your hand raised. I don't know if Krim raised it again or.
I didn't. I don't know how to turn it off. For somebody so technical, I'm a crappy Luddite. Help!
Okay,
Why would it go away?
when you speak, the hand goes down. In like when you start speaking. So yeah, Cal, what's up?
Yeah, no, I was just going to echo on something Krim said, which is, and the general topic, which is, getting, those more updates from the top 20. And we kind of talked about it at the beginning too, is, a lot of the top 20 are not active in terms of posting and stuff. In terms of posting and just in general, like communication. But, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think that, you should just rule out a witness and say, oh, they haven't made a post in the last, 6 months. They must not be active. And, like I said, a lot of them are active at a more, technical or kind of background layer. But that being said, I still think you should get some sort of, update from most of these witnesses at some point. And, without pointing out to anybody in particular, there are plenty of witnesses that don't really have any front facing, updates or, notices of any kind. So that's definitely something I've been a proponent of for a long time is, even if a witness isn't a, communicator and it's not their natural thing to, be putting out updates on a, weekly or even monthly basis. I think coming to these town halls or, doing a space at some point or a post, no matter how brief, I think just some level of update should be kind of some kind of requirement of a top 20 witness.
Yeah, Task. Do you want to add something? And Manu, you have been awfully quiet. I don't know if you're able to speak.
Yeah, I think it's very important. The number one job of a witness, and I even put this in the threadcast, we're the only ones really who use that name. Most call them block producers, node producers, block validators, something like that. The most important thing witnesses do is keep this blockchain running. And I've heard people say, well, they should post once a week about what's going on, or I don't think it's too much to expect, or once a month. What are you going to post? The node didn't break down. We kept processing blocks. That's what they're supposed to do. And what Cal said is true. A lot of the witnesses are technical people. They're not blog posters. They're not people who write articles. They're technical people, and obviously there's a huge technical component to this. So where is that line? And maybe it's just leftover or residual from the old days. There is a problem because we see nodes that these people aren't even on Hive anymore. They are no longer here. They haven't even been here since we forked 3 years ago, yet they still have 20 million or 30 million votes or whatever in terms of Hive power. So this comes back to each of us consistently looking at the witnesses we're voting for. Who are you voting for? Are they people who are around? And as Cal says, I will echo that sentiment. Just because somebody's not posting every day doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. Doesn't mean that their node's not operating. Doesn't mean that they're not performing services for the blockchain. Because a lot of times what these people do, it's not evident. It's not out there. They're constantly going through Hive blocks. They're constantly pulling stuff and data from the blockchain and looking at it and working on problems, working on codes. You listen to the dev call that HOWU posts, every couple of weeks or once a month, however often they have them. And suddenly you start seeing names there like Gandalf, who's not necessarily around, but he's working on base layer coding. So these are things that, again, it goes back to conversation, what we're talking about, what we're opening up avenues where if somebody isn't going to write a 1,500 word post, that's not their thing, fine. They could come on to something like this, and if you are looking to give your witness votes to people and you prefer to be giving it to people are doing something, then maybe look for those people who are on these spaces, who are around, who show up on the developer calls, who are on threads, who are commenting, who do different things. I mean, Archange is a prime example. There's somebody who's a developer, but he was on this call. He was on the spaces with me after one of the Hive Fest days. He presented at Hive Fest. There's somebody who does a lot for the blockchain, but it may not be known to everybody, but at least people on this call are starting to see him around. And if that's what you feel is a variable for you to place a witness vote, then fine, look for those people.
And this also resonates with the idea that Town Hall has. Of course, the idea of having a team witness is kind of new for Hive. We don't believe it's the only way to do it. Of course, there can be individual witnesses, there can be team witnesses, there can be DApp witnesses. But in our case, we decided, okay, we need to have a tech side, we need to have a business side, we need to have an economic side, we need to have a social side. And that's how this witness came to be. The fact that, okay, maybe the developer cannot make the posts, but we have another person that can make the posts. So, Carl, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I forget who made the point, but, a few points back, or I guess it was Tass talking about, producing blocks is the number one responsibility of witnesses. And I definitely agree with that. You have to run your node, you have to produce the blocks, that's kind of why you're there, is to secure the blockchain. But, I think a big misconception is that running a node and producing blocks is actually a very kind of passive activity. There's, very little technical aspect to it and maintenance. In terms of things that you actually have to do, you might have to do something once a month. So I do agree that, your main function as a witness is to produce blocks. But I also think that if you're a witness and the only thing you're doing is producing blocks, that's kind of a misallocation of a witness, in my opinion. And that might be a hot take for some people, but I think in order to be a top 20 or top 30 or whatever, you should be doing a lot more than just producing blocks. And I really like what you said earlier, Eric, that, a key function of a witness is to, one, be the voice of the people, and two, be a representative both on, internally to Hive and externally, to the outside world.
Yes, and I do think that there's a lot of witnesses that have, okay, yes, I produce the blocks, but I also, run a curation system. Or I run the blocks, but I also develop this DApp. Or I run the nodes, but I also do this and that. So I think those are the witnesses that provide the most value to the blockchain. But that being said, we also need the more witnesses we have, even if they just run blocks, they add value to the blockchain. But yes, as Carl says, and I do agree, the bar is very high right now for the top 20, in the sense of, if you want to be on the top, you have not only to produce nodes, to have a node or to produce blocks, but you also have to add more value to the community the way that you want it to be. But there has to be an added value. I think Manu was first to raise the hand.
Hi.
Real
I
quick,
just wanted to ask
before Manu.
Oh, go Nitty.
Sorry, this is a hot question. Someone in the Threadcast asked, "What are blocks?" Manu, do you want to take that one? What are
that's not a
blocks?
I just wanted to ask something first. I wanted to ask something of what Tasmata was saying, and it is that sometimes we don't see some witnesses posting end of day or anything about it related to that, because many things that a witness do, that is produce blood or signing blood. You can see it wherever inside of the bloodchain. Some people don't know about it. There is a tool that I think Carla and Leo team build it, and it's called highstats.ao, and people could go there, just put the name of the witness and the username, and you will see how many blood there are. Not how many blood, but how many HP they are getting from that, and many other stats that you can see there. And that's something that, in my case, I didn't want to do a post about it, because people could go there and see it, and there is ton of other tools that you can use for that too. But uh, in my experience, what I did was just build a post about how you can set a business though without much problems nowadays, and I think that was something that could bring some utility to people that don't know how to do that. That was something that I do, mostly because High Cuba is not a business that is only producing blood. There is also a community that has a curating system that is also is bringing some thoughts about high in Cuba and marketing high inside Cuba, and bringing some more um, things to it that are outside of the blockchain. So there is no many. I don't know. We don't usually talk about it on chain, but there are many things that we do off chain that sometimes people don't know, but that is there. You can look at it. We have a Web2 social for that. That sometimes we don't have the time to bring more people on chain about it, but it's there. So sometimes we just you just need to look a little deep, then just the witness is stable for that. Producing block. That was the question, Nisi. What is a block?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I saw the question pop up, and I was like, if I don't address it now, I'll forget. But we had a question: what are blocks? And I think it's really important that. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm not lighting up. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So blocks, one of the easiest ways to think about this, and I often explain them in really sort of easy to understand terms. Blocks are like big groups of transactions. Think about everything that happens on Hive every few seconds. You've got votes, you've got comments, you've got posts, you've got JSONs. All of the things that happen on Hive, when you broadcast them, they need to be checked if they follow Hive's rules. So a block is basically when a witness node, a server, if you want to call it that, and I'll explain nodes in a second. A block is a big group of transactions that a witness node checks to make sure they follow Hive's rules. That's the easiest way to think about it. Think of a block as a box full of transactions. The witness's job, when it gets handed a block, when it's their turn in shuffle, they get a block, they will quickly check all the transactions inside that block to make sure that they follow the rules of Hive. If they do, the block goes into the chain and is quickly checked over by the rest of consensus. Consensus matches, boom, the block is in the chain. So when you think about a blockchain and all of the blocks that are lined up in a row, they are big boxes full of valid transactions. And the way that they're ordered in the chain is here's the order in time that they happened. And each witness goes down and is producing these blocks, is checking these transactions, and they're all working together to put these blocks full of transactions in a line. And then they share that information with all of the other nodes. So that's the easiest way to understand what a block is. And it's very simplified, but in terms of when you understand what happens when you click on a transaction and send it out into space, that's what's happening in the background with your block producers. This is also why it's kind of important to vote for good witnesses, because obviously you want witnesses that are using the rules that everybody agrees on, right? We want to make sure that the rules of Hive are what we think they are. That is why when you vote for a witness and they're running a version of Hive that you want, it's very important. A hard fork is a decision. Are we going to change these rules or not? And that's why witness voting around hard forks is really important too. But the easiest way to think about it is every 3 seconds, there's a new block full of transactions, and a witness is going to get it and double check that everything in it looks good, and then share that information with the rest of the witnesses. That's where the blockchain comes from. And then the only other thing is I saw some terminology around node. Node is, I see task answered, it's a server. One of the easiest ways to think about this is basically you can set up a witness server in a couple of different ways. So nodes are that machine running that software that does something. There are 3 different ways to handle it. One is a block producer, which is a witness. One is a seed node, which is something that propagates blocks and gets them ready for witnesses. And one is an RPC node, which is basically the one that goes back and forth between the blockchain and your services, moving information. So when you ask on a front end, I'd like to make a vote, the RPC node is the thing in the middle that runs back and forth between the blockchain and serves that information to either you or to a front end. And those 3 things are all basically part of when you're running infrastructure for Hive. How you set up your configuration, you could be any of those things. Those nodes are all very similar, and they're all parts of how the blockchain is produced. And they're all things that witnesses and infrastructure providers run on behalf of everybody that uses this blockchain.
And that is exactly why we value that Cream is here to make things easy for everyone to understand. Because remember, the point of these town halls is to bring the concepts and bring the intricacies of the blockchain, of the Hive blockchain, and make them of easy access and easy understanding for everyone on chain. Doesn't matter how long have you been here, but the point is to get everyone involved and to understand the important parts of our blockchain. I see a couple of people are requesting to speak. I'm sorry if I don't recognize your name from Hive or from Twitter, well, from X. I cannot allow you to speak, not because I don't want to, but because this is a Hive-focused space. So, yeah, sorry about that. Nifty, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. You know, we went a little in depth there. Thank you, Krim, for explaining blocks and nodes. And I feel like I need to clarify this because those questions came up. When we talk about transactions, we're not talking about, you know, a buy or a sell, or we're talking about anything you do on Hive. So whether it's a comment, whether it's a post, whether it's a vote, maybe you do make a transaction on the internal market. All of those are transactions that happen on the blockchain. And the producers make sure those are valid. So yeah, it's not just monetary things. Transactions are everything that happens on the chain. It all has to be validated.
100%. So we are very close to an end. I completely forgot about the keyword because I cannot multitask. I cannot run the spaces and remember any other thing. So for those who are here to listen to the keyword is governance. So now you know governance. I'm going to say it one more time. The keyword is governance. We're about to wrap up. If someone else wants to add anything to the conversation, just raise your hand, and I will hand you the mic. In the meantime, well, you can go ahead, Bookerman. I will just read around the threadcast to see if there's anything else.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, you know, we have the benefit of being a truly decentralized platform, and I know when I went out representing Woo and Hive at Rare Evo and Breathe, that was one thing that really blew people away, that we were truly a decentralized platform, and that was a huge selling point for us. But one of the you know, the negatives of that is, since there's no company, there's no marketing team, there's no one telling people what to do. And we have to have awesome people like Crimson Clad and Eric and so many others that do these things, do these Twitter spaces, go out to these these events and really preach Hive. And you'd be surprised when you go out to these events and how the people come together. Like at Breeze, for example, having all those people there, the locals in Rare Evo, having the locals there that came out and helped set things up, talk to people, and did all that. It's really amazing to see a community come together and be like, look what we did. This is who we are. This is what we do. It was a really beautiful thing, and we just need more people to constantly step up and do these thankless jobs. I really appreciate, Eric, you holding these spaces, Krim, everything you do, guilty parties, all the people with the value plan. Again, it's really amazing to see, and this is a huge asset, a huge benefit of this chain. And that's all I wanted to end on.
I don't know if maybe we lost connection or maybe it's me, but I have zero audio.
Yeah, I can see Eric's little thing is going like he's talking, but I can't hear him. So I don't know. Maybe he's muted his mic, but unmuted on Spaces. Is that possible? Take it away, Task.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're having technical difficulties, but usually the delivery of the keyword is the ending, and I don't see anybody else who wants to add anything to it. So I personally think this was a great introductory town hall. We plan on having them once a month. We may have to negotiate the day, as Krim said, because uh, there is a conflict with the core dev meeting. So maybe we have to move it to another Monday or another day of the week. Also, just to give a reminder, I started hosting on Friday, and I'm going to do it every week. Hopefully, every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. A space is called This Week in Hive. So if you enjoyed this, it will be a similar format where I'll come on. I may have some base topics of what I've seen across Hive, but people can join. They can talk about whatever projects they're involved in, whatever projects they're utilizing, whatever they know about, whatever questions they have. It's education, it's for information, and it's just another way to put us on Spaces, to put us on X, that maybe somebody will come along and learn something about Hive and join the blockchain. And take a look at what we have to offer. So if there's nothing else, I think we should close this up, especially since Eric seems not to be getting back. So I think we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to say, thank you to everyone that came on. Thank you for those of you that grabbed the mic and jumped in. Hopefully we have more